My name is Tad Kelly, and I live in Denver, Colorado. I am the great-great-great-grandson of Major John Doherty. John Doherty was well known in his time in the first half of the 19th century as somebody who was fairly heavily involved in the exploration and opening up of the American West. His life is well documented as an Indian agent. He spoke many Indian languages and was very involved in different Indian nation businesses as an agent of the U.S. government. When he retired in the 1850s, he moved to Liberty, Missouri, and he bought land and built a vast plantation on which he enslaved upwards of 100 African Americans to work there, and who built it for him. I first became aware of this history in October of 2019. Not been aware of it previously. I was editing a small family history that my aunt was putting together, and she'd asked me to edit it for grammar and diction, but not for content because I didn't know any of it. But as I was doing that, I came across a line that Major Doherty and his family had been slave owners. And I stopped, my heart kind of stopped briefly. I stopped what I was doing and I picked up the phone and I called her and I said, I was unaware of this history. What else do you know about it? And she said, well, not a lot, to be honest. And that's when my journey on reparation and reconciliation began. I felt I had to learn more about this history. I was clearly linked to it. And I think my predominant emotion around it was really not anger or shame or guilt, really. For me, it was really sadness. A great sense of sadness and a driving desire, an obligation for action. And so I ended up reaching out to people in Liberty, Missouri, particularly in the African American community, to understand better the history. I hired a genealogist who specializes in trying to put together the tapestry of family trees for enslaved people and their descendants, which is a very tricky business. And I went to Liberty, Missouri. I've been there twice now. Most recently for a dedication of a cemetery memorial celebrating the many African Americans that are buried in a certain part of that cemetery, mostly in unmarked graves. And these were enslaved people and many, many of their descendants. It was a wonderful opportunity to speak together with a number of other people, including 2 other descendants of prominent members of the Liberty, Missouri community back in the antebellum period who had also enslaved people. And my commitment is also to continue to support some of those organizations in Liberty going forward for the rest of my life. The other area that I've worked on is I have approached 3 of the educational institutions that I attended with a little bit of a challenge. I've offered to fund and seed a fund for the alumni of these institutions that would be entitled the Repair and Reconciliation Alumni Fund, with the idea of creating a pool of capital that could be deployed in a reparative fashion within the institution and perhaps outside the institution. These conversations are in their early stages. These institutions are fairly prominent. One of them is a private boarding school called Phillips Exeter Academy, Yale University, and Harvard University. I'm encouraged by these early conversations. These are difficult conversations for these institutions. But I'm hopeful, if not optimistic, that we can put something together that would be meaningful And again, it's not about the money. It's about shining the light on this issue and trying to begin the process of educating more, frankly, white, wealthy Americans, so many of whom have graduated from these educational institutions. It would be a very exciting opportunity, and I'm looking forward to it. The good news about repair and reconciliation is that there are so many ways that we can do this. It's not just about money. We can use our time, our talent. We can use our ties in the community. We can speak out. We can do so many things that are actually, many of them, very easy to do. And so I'm encouraging, and I'm trying to do for myself, more and more of these different reparative acts, from small ones to hopefully big and ambitious ones. Of course, a reparative journey is a challenging one because you're constantly refining and redefining the destination. You're never quite sure how best to get there. The sands are moving around underneath your feet. Things are changing. It can become very political very quickly, even though I don't view it as a political issue. But that doesn't mean you're any less committed. Maybe you're more committed. You just have to have faith in the process and in the many people whom you meet along the way. I'm encouraged and I'm excited.